There is no question we are undermanned in our air traffic control towers. And one of the reasons we are undermanned is because they've apparently made a big push since Obama's presidency to eliminate or reduce the whites. They really had enough of trained white male pilots and people with air traffic control experience who happen to have piloting experience if they happen to be white, and created this whole test for people to get in that would rank your abilities.
That's right.
If you played 4 college sports, you got like 4 points. But if you had actual piloting experience in the military, you had 0 points added to your resume.
That's
to the point where there's this massive class action going forward by white guys saying, this is illegal. You cannot discriminate against us based on our race, based on our gender. Right. And this has been ongoing. So your thoughts on it?
Well, no, that's right. And again, we don't know the particulars of this situation, whether or not that played into it. But what it does is it should beg the question for every person that is now trusting their life by going into a commercial airliner. Would you rather have air traffic control that is there because of merit or there because of race? That is there because of qualification or there because of some silly and irrelevant piece of criteria that they were hired for? And I sure hope that the president gets the credit he deserves for signing that executive order just a couple days into his administration, saying that new hiring practices for high stakes, for all things, but especially high stakes environments like air traffic control, is going to be based in merit. And this goes to show how the prior administration, it started with Obama and it really accelerated under Joe Biden, where we saw some of this criteria where the FAA was even saying that we want to hire people potentially with physical disabilities and mental disabilities. And it goes to show that these two things cannot coexist. The diversity obsession and merit-based excellence cannot coexist. They cannot. So you have to choose which one you want. If you go in the direction of a diversity-obsessed society, you will plunge into mediocrity at best and most likely substandard ways of living, catastrophic events, almost assuredly. However, if you prioritize merit, then you are going to be able to have a higher standard of living. You're going to be able to have breakthroughs. You're going to have planes be able to land with confidence. And we could apply this over all sorts of disciplines, from surgery to healthcare to education. Who do you want doing the things that you care the most? Someone that is there, that knows what they are doing and earned it, or someone that didn't earn it? And DEI can otherwise be said diversity, equity, inclusion, or didn't earn it, DEI. They're there for reasons not based on earning or merit or their agency or their free will, but because it was just given to them because we need to fill some sort of pre-existing characteristic criteria box. So my hope, Megyn, is that this is a wake-up call. Yes, exactly, a wake-up call. And the only quota we should care about is, do we have enough people that are the best? And the best cannot coexist with political-based, highly driven diversity obsession. And so America chose merit at the ballot box, overwhelmingly chose merit. When presented in public opinion polls, Americans want merit over affirmative action. They do not want quotas. We want to be an excellent country, not a substandard, mediocre European country. And so my hope is that this will further the mandate that we can purge anyone from the federal ranks in whatever job that they are, for people that had to be given special accommodations on test scoring, on employment checks, on performance reviews because of their race or because of their gender. And I sure hope this will prevent future catastrophes from occurring, because, Megyn, as you know, near misses are becoming nearly a daily thing, and we are playing with fire, and we need the best that our country has to offer in aviation, in healthcare, and across all these different forms of operation in our country.
Absolutely. And it helps the diverse people who pass the merit-based tests never have to be second-guessed or get that look. You know, like, is that person here because of his merit, or is he here because of skin color, or is she here because of her gender? If we just stick to merit, it helps minorities, it helps everybody. The other thing is, I ask the people who are in support of this DEI, in air traffic control, in piloting, in medicine, do you want your child going under the knife of a DEI surgeon? Do you want your child on the plane
That's exactly right.
being piloted by a DEI pilot? Do you want your little one? Or would you prefer to know that this is the most talented pilot with the most talented air traffic controllers society can produce? And here's the thing about that. So there's a report in the Washington Post today, and we'll get to what Trump said. But there's a report in the Washington Post today saying Trump can rip all he wants on Obama for pushing to lower the standards for people who work in air traffic control and as pilots. But he didn't, but he did it. He created it in 2019. That isn't true. We actually went back and looked. Obama created this. Mm-hmm. He's the one who lowered the standards and prioritized, literally, as you said, like severe intellectual disabilities.
No, that's a real
those
thing.
People. That's a real thing. We couldn't believe it, but it's true. Trump did not change it. He did not get rid of it in his first presidency the way he just did. So Trump was a little slow to get up to speed on some of these issues his first term. But now he did. Now he got out there with his executive order within hours of taking the presidency. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to defend the president here because understand the cultural context of 2017 through 2021 when he served. This is before the Great Awakening. At least the later part of the presidency was during kind of the whole Floydapalooza woke stuff. And there was still, remember how powerful it was when somebody called you a racist in the media? That still had a ton of cultural power. No, of course, I don't say this sarcastically. Like the president and his team, I'm not saying that they were ever presented with this as a major problem, but there was not a nationwide dialogue around merit versus race-based hiring. And certainly there was this kind of sword of Damocles that all public servants would walk around with of, my goodness, if they call us a racist, the entire presidency could end. So let's not do anything that might upset that apple cart. Now, I'm not putting any words in the president's mouth, but I'm just trying to defend the cultural context of everything that was happening during those couple years. What happened in 2020, obviously during COVID, and all the CRT, DEI, Robin DiAngelo, hate white people, tearing down statues, was a mask-off moment for what their agenda actually was. And credit to this program, and credit to the conservative grassroots, and credit to our members at Turning Point USA that fought so hard to educate the masses through 2020 and 2021 and 2022 and 2023 that created such an overwhelming outpour where President Trump felt the support of the American people to sign such an executive order on day one. And let's be honest, in 2018, this was happening a little bit on the edges, but it wasn't a, well, we're going to have DEI. It would be a really interesting question. If we could go back and poll the American people, how many people would even know what DEI was in 2018? Now, I would imagine the vast majority of people who watch the news know what it is. And so the president acted correctly because we saw the excesses of the diversity, equity, inclusion regime. And also, back in 2017, 2018, 2019, there was this belief in conservatism. Well, we have really good intentions and maybe we can work with some of these better goals to try to diversify the workplace. And they took total advantage of us. Obviously, It turned into an anti-white, anti-Western, anti-Christian agenda. It opened the eyes of those of us with common sense sensibilities. And President Trump acted correctly in his first couple days in office.
Can I just add to that, Charlie? So I think about this all the time because when I was at NBC and had my calamitous downfall there, it was October of 2018. And so many people have come up to me over the years to say, like, the you that went out on the air and apologized after that whole thing, after you didn't do anything wrong, bears no resemblance to the you that we see today. And they're not wrong. There was a combination of things going on there. I mean, I was very beaten down by a very rough year at NBC. And once you've been flagellated enough, you kind of like, okay, I guess, I'm a terrible person like everybody says. But I can relate to exactly what you're saying because my first instinct then, even though I knew what I was saying was true, was just to apologize and bend the knee because that was the culture. It was like nobody was talking about this stuff. Like it was just, if you want to have a career, if you want to exist in polite society, when this mob turns on you, there's only one thing to do, which is to say, okay, I fall on my sword and move on. And it was part of my awakening, my own personal awakening, to do that, to feel disgusting about what was being done to me, to realize like I knew I was a truth teller, but I had to go through this performative thing. and then have things come awake for me like, no, wait, this is all part of a greater societal lie that's being shoved down all of our throats. It's not just about Megyn Kelly. It's about what they're doing to all of us right now. And it took a lot of us, a couple of years, especially, I mean, I think the post-George Floyd-apalooza, as you put it, was part of the awakening where we're like, whoa, these are crazy people we've been listening to.
Correct.
That helped us all steel our spines. And so I totally get your point. It feels very authentic to me personally.
Well, yeah, thank you. And a lot of people went through that similar journey. Millions of moms and millions of parents would, growing up, never want to be called racist or have their kid be called racist. And that word lost all of its meaning, obviously. It got diluted beyond any sort of potency because they would call everything racist. They would say waking up early is white supremacy. Remember the Smithsonian Museum? It is the most legendary and best example.
Being on time.
Yes, exactly. The African American History Museum, chartered by the Smithsonian, said being on time, speaking correctly, doing math, the scientific method, they are all outgrowths of a white supremacist worldview. I mean, at that point, you just have to say, okay, these people are insane. This is a pathological mind virus that I don't want to attach myself to. And then I also think there was this undercurrent of people that were called racist just for breathing and existing, not for any action. That you are inherently racist because of the color of your skin. That you are inherently racist if you are a white person. So the majority of the country is inherently terrible. Okay, so then how do we reconcile it? Oh, there is no way that you could actually ever get forgiveness. You must be in a perpetual state of penance and bend the knee and redesign all of society just because of criteria based on skin color. So, well, that's tribalism. That's not meritocracy. And so I think we all went through this very healthy kind of opening of our eyes, and all the people that did scholarship on the CRT issue and the DEI issue deserve such credit for showing us the Marxist roots and the fundamental toxins that were kind of undergirthing this. And then we see, okay, we win an election presenting this to the American people, and the president acts on it. But I do think it's important for people to remember we are in a profoundly better place culturally than we were in 2018, 2019. Our instinct, and look at Pete Hegseth. It's a very interesting question. And by the way, thank you for your support of Hegseth and Bobby. I know we'll probably get to that. But if Pete Hegseth would have come under similar criticism in 2017 for Trump's first cabinet, does he survive? I don't know. I don't know if we had the metaphorical muscle as a conservative movement to do it. I will say the one kind of trial by fire where we decided to stand up to the mob was Brett Kavanaugh. That was probably the beginning of a turning point. We realized we were up against like completely like a nuts brigade of people that just want to burn it all down. But if Pete Hegseth would have become the Secretary of Defense in January 2017, when Trump just got elected, I would conjecture he would have failed either a Senate vote or his nomination would have gotten pulled, not because of on the merits, but because as a movement, we were still being held hostage by the major networks, by the oligarchs, by the mass opinion of the elites. And look how far we've come for the better. Look at this journey that we've been on now here in 2025. And the president deserves credit for a lot of things. But I know for me personally, I would imagine you too, Megyn, him teaching all of us that when you're under attack and you have done nothing wrong, you don't apologize, you defend yourself, and you double and triple down, will go down as one of his greatest lessons that he helped communicate to millions of us.
100%. So he is out there. I want to get into the details of this lawsuit because it's pretty amazing against the FAA. As a result of Obama's policy put into place in 2013. It's a class action by aspiring air traffic controllers who were told they were too white. I mean, it's amazing. It's been granted class action certification and it's going forward. So Trump got out there yesterday and said the following. Take a listen to SOT 1.
We need the smartest people. We need both psychologically smart and just brilliant, period. And we are going to have them in our control towers. We are going to have the most competent people in the country in our control towers, not people that are there for any other reason.
Okay, so here's what happened. In 2022, a judge approved the class action status of this lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court of Columbia, D.C., It was brought by Colorado-based Montana State's Legal Foundation. Former Nevada Attorney General Adam Laxalt, ran for Senate, is co-counsel.
Great guy.
Filed against the FAA, and Laxalt is alleging that he represents nearly 1,000 people who went to school to become air traffic controllers in 2014, which you may remember was a time during which Barack Obama was president. The individuals he represents passed the normal test right before the Obama administration said the class was, quote, too white. I'm quoting here from the complaint. And threw out their tests, their successful tests, because they were too white. Totally effing illegal. The FAA put together a new test. This quiz served as further screening of applicants who had already graduated from a 200-hour training program and achieved high scores on the test, a grueling 8-hour cognitive test that measures each of the specific skills needed to do the job properly. The new test was a biographical test with the intent of adding more African Americans to the air traffic control pool. It had never been used before. The questionnaire sought irrelevant info, such as the college subject in which I received my lowest grade. Those answering history, political science received 15 points, extra points. Playing 4 or more sports in high school was worth 5 points. By contrast, holding a pilot's license, a major advantage for an air traffic controller, was worth only 2 points, and having valuable experience as an air traffic controller in the military was worth no points at all. Lead plaintiff Andrew Brigida, Brigida, his application was turned down despite achieving a perfect 100% score on the test. And the result of this, per the lawsuit, is that changes to the hiring process meant many of these graduates began to be passed over in favor of applicants who had only graduated from high school. So it's crazy. Congress did force the FAA to drop this quiz in 2018. We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and the rising cost of living, and we could have a very big problem on our hands. So what are you doing right now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a very safe haven in very hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into an IRA in gold, and it won't cost you 1 penny, not one, out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Text my initials, MK, to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.